So as Black women, our bodies, look at our bodies.
Mm.
We are more curvier. Look at our glutes, our bum.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
true.
high up. Or it was, I should say.
I was going to say mine was. It's
Yeah,
gone walkabout.
yeah. So it's high up. We're definitely more curvier. And you look at the 100 meters lineup of the Olympics, or 200,
Mm,
full of Black people. Yeah, male or
mm,
female.
mm,
And that is
mm.
because we have more fast twitch fibers. So we're more explosive.
Yeah,
So what happens in the menopause, we lose fast twitch fibers. Everybody does. White women do, Black women
yeah,
do. But
yeah.
obviously we're starting off with more.
Mm, mm.
So when we do weight training, resistance training, we then increase our fast twitch fibers. So as women age, they become a bit more, get slower,
Yeah.
not as dynamic. And so when we
Mm,
do actually do weight training to failure,
mm.
yeah, so if you're
Yeah.
in the gym and you're actually lifting weights or at home,
So it's hard, basically.
yeah, so by the time you get to 12, it should be hard. It should be like
Yes,
really
that's
hard.
right.
And it's
And you're
that,
grunting. That's
yeah,
when the grunting happens.
yeah. And that is that you're building your fast twitch muscle. So you want to run for a bus. Sorry, if you want to run for a bus, you'll run
Mm,
for the bus. You want to run
right.
after your grandchildren, you will run after your grandchildren. You want to carry a load upstairs and not be out
Yeah.
of breath, you will do that.
Hello, and welcome to Menopause Whilst Black, the podcast that is committed to sharing and celebrating the stories of Black people in any stage of menopause. And we are on season 8, episode 3. My name is Karen Arthur. I am your host. I am a broadcaster and a author and a grandmother and lots in between. Welcome. I am so excited about today's guest. She is the first guest I ever had on this podcast when we started 4 years ago. But I won't, so we're having a little catch up, so to speak. And I'm excited for you to hear it. So, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, I hope you are comfortable. I hope you're ready. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to Menopause Whilst Black, Season 8. And we have a very special guest for you today. Pamela Windle is a certified international women's health coach, speaker, and menstruation and menopause consultant for the workplace, with over 20 years of experience in the health and wellness industry. She has received training from the Integrated Women's Health Institute and the International Menopause Society, IMS, holds membership with the IMS and the British Standard Institute, BSI, and is an advisor to the BSI for the menstruation, menstrual health, and menopause in the workplace. Pamela is also on the advisory board for the International Organisation for Standardisation, ISO. Pamela holds a BSc in psychology and sports science, is a hypnotherapist, NLP psychotherapy practitioner. She is also a certified personal trainer. Our Pamela is passionate about educating and empowering women, disrupting the narrative about women's health. She offers evidence-based practices and combines training and techniques tailored to individual needs. Welcome, Pamela.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Wow.
I loved reading that. I loved reading that because, well, those who are listening who won't know, who may not know, Pamela was my first guest. She was the first person to say yes when I started Menopause Whilst Black back in October. God, back in 2020, and all that that brought with it. And so yeah, we had a wonderful conversation then, really kind of getting to know each other. We'd met online anyway, because we were both women who were passionate about talking about menopause and particularly about diversity in the space. And so I'm absolutely thrilled that you agreed to come back for a catch up today, because my goodness, we've got a lot to catch up about.
We have indeed.
So, Pamela, I will start with my habitual questions. Tell us about yourself. Who are you outside of all those wonderful titles?
Mm, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Karen. Who am I? Well, I am me, Pamela. I am Pamela. And I'm a mother and a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a confidant. I think as I'm aging, I feel like I'm coming more into me, who I really am. Like, just feels so different. Like, I
Mm.
wish I had this superpower when I was younger, but I do feel like I'm just growing into myself. So that's who I am outside of my work.
Yeah. And what's your heritage? Where are your parents from?
So both my parents were from Jamaica. Uh,
Hmm.
they're both no longer here now. So
Hmm.
Jamaica, and we've never done, well, I haven't done that DNA test, but my daughter has, and so it seems like a large percentage of us are from Guyana. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, right. And where are you based? You have an accent. Where are you based? And how old are you?
Do I have an accent?
Just a bit. Well, I suppose if we switch it around, I have an accent. So, let's not London centric it.
Okay, so I'm from Nottingham, born and raised here. Um, and what was the other question you asked me?
How old are you, love?
Oh, right, so I'm 58 now. I'm going to be 59 in March, end of March. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be celebrating my 59th year. So
Yeah.
I'm celebrating now. I'm not waiting to 60. I'm celebrating 59
Good.
60. And that is the reason why is because when I was 49, I was really unwell. And
Mm,
what I imagined where I'd be at 50 wasn't where I was. And
mm.
so that's why I'm celebrating 59.
And it's very much worth celebrating every day. You know.
Yes.
So I'm glad you're a woman after my own heart, because that's the kind any excuse, to be honest, to celebrate a birthday and have a celebration. But yeah, definitely I'm celebrating to your 50th night, 59th year. Yeah, Aries sisters in the house.
Yes.
Who taught you about menopause, Pamela?
Yeah, well, myself. Myself. And it's interesting. I remember asking my mum a long time ago. So mum passed
Mm,
away in 2020 in January, just before the chaos happened. Thank God.
mm,
And I remember asking my mum, she was 96 when she passed away. And I think she might have been
gosh.
about 93, something like that.
Yeah,
And my mum said to me, I think I might have said it on the other podcast. She said, "Are you still seeing your period?
yeah,
Are you still seeing your period?"
yeah,
And I went, "Yeah." And she was like, "Okay, you're good." Like, that was it. End of the story. There was nothing else to say. As long as you're still seeing your
yeah,
period,
yeah.
it was fine. So it was when my father passed away, actually, 2014, and
Mm,
we were organising my father's funeral, and my sister, my eldest sister, who was, I think at the time about 53, um, who's 4 years older than me, and she was having hot flushes. And I just remember thinking, I know what that is, and I'm scared of that. And it was at that point I started reading about it. So
mm,
started reading about it, then led me to do the qualifications that I've done now. So yeah, I feel very privileged in the fact that because I was sick
yeah.
then my father passed away, and recovering from that chronic fatigue has enabled me to bypass the symptoms that women talk about.
Mm,
I feel very privileged in the fact that, knowing how sick I was, I think if I hadn't done all the work that I had done on myself, I probably would have been in a bit of a mess too in my
yeah.
perimenopause transition.
Yeah, yeah. And you're helping lots from your experience, and also from, your your training, and you're you've been able to help so many other women as well. you know. And where are you on your menopause journey now?
Yeah. So I'm again a bit unusual. So I'm still perimenopause. I've not had a year without a bleed. The longest I've gone is 6 months. So
Yeah,
the last 2 years, it's been okay, you've gone 6 months and you've gone 4 months and you've had 3 months of bleeding and da 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 da
yeah,
da. So the
yeah.
last bleed I had was December 2024. So I think I'm going to be nearly 60 by the time that I actually enter like proper
Yeah.
menopause. So yeah.
And that is unusual, isn't it?
It is. However, my sister was like that. My older sister
Right.
was late and my mom was late. I mean, my mom had me at 45. So,
Mm,
and when I was 53, that was the first cycle that I missed,
mm,
and then it went
mm.
back to normal. So just how we are in our
Yeah,
family.
it's a family thing, and it's worth people noting that if you do have your mum around, or you do have, sisters in your family or older sisters that you can talk to, that maybe that's a start to looking at how your menopause is not a complete blueprint, but certainly looking at how your menopause will affect you as well. Now, when we spoke in back in 2020, you spoke a little bit about your chronic fatigue. For those people who don't know what chronic fatigue is, can you tell us a little bit about what happened? And more to the point, because you talked about how going through that has helped you with your navigating perimenopause and the transition that you're in now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Put it in context. Because I
Yeah,
don't think people really get, like, you were super active.
yeah. Um, yeah, Karen, I was super active. I'd running 10K races. I was a personal trainer. I lifted weights. Obviously I taught all the classes from all the Les Mills, body pump, spin type class. But when I became unwell, which was 2012, at that point I was working in the NHS. So I'd left the health and fitness industry, did
Mm,
my degree, and I was now working with dependent drinkers in the NHS, not enjoying it at all, I must say. No. Um, so I basically woke up one morning with a flu virus and never recovered for like 6 years later. And what we know about antibodies, we're talking about COVID and antibodies, that what was going on for me. So even though the NHS did some tests, all came back normal, didn't really understand why I was fatigued. And I was so ill that I couldn't really look after myself. And I look back now, I was actually disabled. I would say
mm,
I was disabled because I feel tearful just to even say those words. But um, I couldn't look after myself. I couldn't like brushing my teeth. A basic thing. Doing that.
things we take for granted.
Yeah, I didn't have the energy to brush my teeth twice a day. Once a
Mm,
day, making the bed, cooking was just a struggle. I used to cook in batches, and just remember cooking things. It just exhaust me. I had to go and sit down for like an hour and then go back and complete it. Changing your duvet, I'd have to do it in different parts, and
yeah,
rest in between. And I was in a relationship then, and just even being, intimate with my partner was draining.
yeah.
And I'd gone from, like you said, this person that was really fit, sociable, had lots of friends, to this person that literally walked around the flat, you know, 500 steps in a day, and just
Mm,
lay down. And it was relentless. And,
yeah,
go back to the GP, and I ended up losing my job as a result of that, as you can imagine. But going to the GP and the GP saying, well, you've got this thing, which we called chronic fatigue syndrome. And the only way to actually determine that is that you have fatigue for 6 weeks.
mm,
So you have fatigue for 6 weeks, and then they say, you've now got chronic fatigue. We don't know how to get well. There you go and live with this symptom for the rest of your life. And then they also said, and by the way, you're likely to develop fibromyalgia as a result of
Oh,
that as well. I know. Um, so for anybody that is listening that has anything like that, I just want to let you know there is hope. You know,
yeah.
fatigue is just the tip of the iceberg. That's something else that's going on
Mm,
internally elsewhere in your
mm,
body. And fatigue
mm.
is a symptom of something else. Um, so yeah, so it was tough. Life was tough financially, just just that bleeding money out, money's not coming in. You're living
Yeah.
on what you've got, your savings. My dad had passed away and left some money, living on that. So I survived probably about three years,
Mm.
just living off. I'd sold my house, so living off my equity to my house,
Oh, goodness.
and the money that my dad had left. And assistance from the government was zero because they didn't believe in chronic fatigue. It's kind of changed now with long COVID, but they
Yeah.
didn't existed. It was all in your mind. So yeah, so life was tough.
So what did you do? How did you move through that? And how did that help you? If it would, in retrospect, how did those practices, whether it's diet or whatever mindfulness, whatever you did, how does that help you with your menopause now?
Yeah. So
Because
it was,
you're fit now.
I
Let's
am.
be very clear. I see you.
I do my handstands. I'm practicing my handstands. My
I
aim is
saw.
my aim is to do handstands and be free
Yeah,
for minutes. I've kind of done
yeah,
about maybe like 20 seconds or something, and then I'm
yeah.
like freaking out. Um, but yeah, the reason why I said what at the beginning about me recovering from chronic fatigue has enabled me to bypass all of the things that I see women struggling with is
Mm,
because at that point, so I was in my 50s. Oh, I was a bit younger. I was like late 40s, I think I was at
mm,
this point, when I met Dr. Jessica Drummond. So I'd done my first training as a third age woman
yeah,
practitioner. And so I kind of knew about nutrition in a very different way that I'd learned about nutrition as a personal trainer.
yeah.
And so that was my first qualification in this kind of industry. It was third age
Mm,
woman, and I did it lying down. It was 3 months. I was still very sick, but I was fascinated by everything I learned about it. And then that led me on to my next qualification, which was with Dr. Jessica Drummond. And that's when I learned about functional nutrition and
right.
diagnostic testing. And so at that point, I was sick. And I remember Jessica saying to me, look, because I also became a patient as well.
Mm,
I remember her saying to me, we really need to make sure that we get your energy levels back up before you reach menopause. So I think I was like 49, I think
yeah,
50 maybe at the time. So we did some diagnostic tests. So we did the Dutch test, which is a urine test that not
yeah.
only looks at your hormones, but it kind of looks at your adrenal glands, so the building blocks to make hormones, and
Mm,
some other markers as well. We did stool testing. We did another test, which I love. It's called the organic acid test, that looks at um, deficiencies in minerals, looks
mm,
at your energy factory, which we call mitochondria, which is so
mm,
important as we age. Um,
mm,
we looked at, toxicity as well. And we just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything that was the root cause. So again, it's like root cause. This is what functional
mm,
nutrition is really.
mm,
And things came back that I needed to work on. There were deficiencies in, particularly in like B vits. And I was thinking, oh gosh, reading about it, I was very new into what all of that meant. But I
mm.
think, oh gosh, maybe I would be heading for depression if I hadn't known that I was deficient in these,
B vitamins. Yeah.
yeah, these B vitamins, yeah. So anyway, we sort of changed my diet. We used nutritions that were targeted to the results that we got from the actual, diagnostic tests, and
Yeah.
also using medical grade supplements, things that I'd never heard of, like
Yeah.
glutathione, um, like yesterday on social media, we were talking about berberine,
Yeah, and I'd never heard of that.
yeah,
And just explain what berberine is so people don't go, what?
yeah. So berberine is a type of supplement that
Mm,
is great for balancing your blood sugar levels, And
yeah,
as we know, as we're in this phase of life, our blood sugar levels are unstable due to the, drop in the estrogen. So
yeah.
berberine helps to stabilize that. And glutathione
Mm,
is one of the most powerful antioxidants in the body, next
yeah.
to melatonin, which is our sleep
Mm,
neurotransmitter. And it drops with age. And glutathione is essential for energy, for detoxifying estrogen. So any woman, if you're on HRT or not, needs to be
yeah,
having glutathione in her diet,
yeah.
and also maybe from a supplement. But I'd learned about all these amazing things that are available to us. That if you're a
Yeah.
novice, if you're walking into a high street shop, they're just not available. They're like somewhere else, out there. Um, so we kind of supported all my body systems based on the results that we got on the
Yeah.
diagnostic test. But what happened was 3 months later, I wasn't feeling as good as we'd hoped I should feel.
Mm,
And so Jessica then said, okay, well, we've done all these tests, we've worked on it, we changed your nutrition. Let's then have a look at your bloods. I said,
yeah.
okay, and we'll start with one blood marker called Epstein-Barr virus.
Hmm.
The Epstein-Barr is part of the family and glandular fever family,
Mm.
and it's called mono in America. That's the other name for it.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Or mono is glandular fever. Yeah. She said, let's have a look at that because the fatigue started with the virus.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, so we decided to look at this blood marker again, private tests, so they're not available
Yeah.
on the
Mm.
NHS. And there it was, my antibodies were raised. So my body was acting as if I'd got an active virus. So even though the virus had come and gone years ago, the
Wow.
antibodies were raised. And then so that when you get a virus, a flu virus, what do? You rest, you
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
My body
Yeah.
was, protecting me in a way that you still have this active virus, even though it wasn't active.
Yeah.
Therefore, you need to lie down and go to sleep and rest all day. So once we knew that, then we kind of changed my nutrition and added nutrients in to suppress the virus, and again targeted supplements to suppress the virus. And it didn't happen overnight. It did happen incrementally. And um, I remember this picture actually on my website of me just feeling alive. Nicole, my daughter, taking this photograph and just feeling like, oh my gosh, I just feel like this heavy weight in my
Mm.
body has just been lifted. But it did happen over time. And I must say, the other thing I did do as well, because I wanted to turn over every stone, I was like,
Yeah.
you know,
You went in.
I went in because I was
Yeah.
just thinking, is there a reason why I'm sick? Yes, there's the physical self, but on
Yeah.
a psychological level, is there a positive gain for me being
Mm.
sick? Am I suppressing some deep thing, that I never cared for, or I felt I'd never cared
Mm.
for as a child, and that I needed to be cared for as an adult? Was that
Mm.
also driving the sickness? So I also had some inner child work as well. At the same time, I was just like, I don't want to be ill. But if there's something unconsciously why I'm so sick, then I'm going to work on this now. So I did the physical and the emotional as well.
I love that. And I love that you did both sides, because too many people think it's, something's wrong with me. Oh, it's going to be the body. So I'm going to focus on the body. But what I also heard when I was listening to you, I felt a little bit sad in the sense that, yes, fantastic you were able to do that. Why do we not know about these things? Why is this stuff not available for everybody? Why am even now at my big age hearing about these new things, but I'm really the other side to that is I'm really pleased that you're here and you're healthy and you've been not only been able to come through this, but also been able to help other women all over the world, to be their best, um, to be their best selves. And I know that Tasha Janine has been waxing lyrical about you, who was um, uh, on the podcast a few seasons ago, Until Lemons Are Sweet, talking about how she's been on a journey with you, just flipping her diet and really, and you've really helped her to move into her menopause. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know what you're asking, though, in terms of how that's helped me. I mean,
Mm,
it did. And the reason why it's helped me is because I could see what was going on, like how my gut health was. I could
yeah.
see how toxic and how inflamed my gut health was. I
Mm,
could see all the things that were missing on paper. And it was
mm,
just like a light bulb moment. And so when we do the diagnostic test, um, and now I don't always do diagnostic tests because I've been doing this for such a long time. I
yeah.
kind of have a sense of sometimes when women come in that I
Yeah.
can go, okay, let's work on based on your history, your life. I can go, okay, well, let's do this, this, and this. And if it's not working, then we do tests. Yeah. So, but for me,
Right.
yeah. So for me, it was like, okay, these are the things that are out of whack,
Mm,
and these are the things we need to work on. And doing so, working on the whole body, that is
mm.
how I bypassed those menopausal symptoms.
Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic. I wanted to say congratulations on it. Lots has happened since we spoke, and I know there's lots that we're not going to get through. But congratulations on your book with Dr. Yansie Rolston, Black and Menopausal. Why did you think, or why is there a need for Black women's voices?
Get
She's
off
holding it up. Wonderful book, full of stories from different Black people who are experiencing menopause. Why is this book so important?
I mean, this, like you said, it's full of stories of Black women,
Mm,
from across the world. So not
yeah.
just UK based. The youngest person in there, went into early menopause, and that's the story that everybody needs to know about that. And there were different versions of how people were entered menopause, and where they are now. But why is it
Mm.
important? It's important because one, as you know, Karen, the research in for menopause is very limited anyway, but specifically for Black women.
Mm,
So I think it is research in itself, isn't it? There are all
yeah.
those stories in there is somebody's stories that you could maybe resonate with you, some of it. And I think it's really important. In the book, we're not trying to fix anybody, it's not a self-help guide. This is how some women of
Mm,
African, Caribbean, or African enter into menopause. So it is in itself is a research. And you may resonate with some of the things that people have said. One of the stories is quite funny, it's humorous as well. Mine was about my journey from being sick to,
mm,
thriving. Um,
mm,
so I think the reason why it's there is because it needs to open up conversations around the menopause specifically for
mm,
Black women.
yeah. And certainly when I read it, I felt seen. I know, I obviously speak and interview a lot of people, Black folks, about menopause, but there was something about seeing it on the written page. And and reading the stories of people who are not necessarily like me, but
Mm,
it felt it fit. It felt it's a beautiful book, and I urge anybody to read it, but particularly anybody who a person of color who's going through a menopause or entering menopause, who wants to know what's in store for them, because one size, we keep using this phrase, but one size does not fit all. So and you're also involved in, there are some menopause cards on the market. What are they? Tell us a little bit more about those, because I think I know that Amashadi Bernie Scott, Black Women, Black Girls Guide to Surviving Menopause, have done a pack, but yours are very different. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Yes, again, this is with Dr. Yansie as well. We created these last year, and it's about opening up conversation. So
Yeah.
you could use it like in a sister circle. You could just shuffle the cards, and pull a card, and so it's relates back to the book. So there are some quotes from the book as well.
Hmm.
There are, signposting in there as well to various services that are available to us here in the UK. But
Mm.
it's about opening conversations either with loved ones or a sister circle or even
Mm.
in the workplace, to just open the conversation around the menopause. So again, breaking down stigmas specifically for disabled,
Mm.
Black, different genders as
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it isn't just, you know,
Straight.
straight people.
Understood.
The word to
Yeah.
say. So it is like this real broad, um,
Inclusive. It seems
inclusive.
very inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. Gathering everybody in. You absolutely nailed it on the head.
yeah.
Is there anything you thought about menopause care when you first started working in this space, if you like, that you since either changed your mind about or things have changed? For example, because obviously new research has come to light. Well, for example, when we first met and we talked about the Dutch test, for example, which some people see as quite controversial.
Hmm.
Depends on who you're listening to. The the internet is a wonderful thing. Um, and that was something you used to do. That was the thing, wasn't it? Now you're saying you've done this for so long, having conversations with these women across demographics, you're realizing that actually I know I'm pretty sure what's going on here. And then you might go to the diagnostic testing. Is there anything else that I don't mean that you've changed your mind about that, but certainly you've altered your practice to move with the times, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Dutch test, you know, depending which one, because there's many Dutch tests. There's one that you can do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so there's one that you can do like the whole month, so you're not just getting a
Okay.
snapshot of a day. But what I do like about the Dutch test, the thing that really sells me about the Dutch test is how your body is metabolizing your estrogen. That is the
Okay.
most important thing because
Okay.
we want to make sure that your estrogen isn't then, recirculating your body and growing things because we don't want things growing our body. So that for me is the single thing that I like in the Dutch test. But just listening to someone's story, I can go, okay, this is what
Yeah.
we need to do. We need to add these things in. We need to do this with your nutrition. We need to literally go, okay, this is a pathway that we need to work on. And these are the stepping stones that we need to do so that you are now getting rid of that estrogen out of your body, the excess estrogen, because it's that we don't want to then start growing things in your body. So, yeah, I have altered my practice, but that's based on experience and the amount of
Yeah.
women that I've worked with. But it is down to the individual, as you say. There's not a one size fits all. Um, the other thing I like to do actually is blood sugar monitors. So that's new. That's something that I didn't do back then. So
Okay.
continuous blood sugar monitors, they're absolutely great. And what's great about it is because you, the person that's wearing the monitor, you're learning about yourself. So it's really empowering. You're
Hmm.
taking ownership of the thing that you're doing. And I
Hmm.
also now use smartwatches as well. So I'm kind of looking at the one I use as a Garmin watch that really great information. It tells me about your stress levels during the day, and I can see that on paper. Well,
Oh
not on paper,
wow.
on an app, should I say? But I can see like your stress score at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, how your stress is throughout the day. That's incredible. I mean, that information is gold. We can see how well you're sleeping, whether you're snoring at night. So, snoring is like problematic for your brain health. If we're talking about dementia and Alzheimer's, we need to know. that you're snoring, and then what we can do about that.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I'm pretty sure I'm a snorer. I've woken myself up snoring on a massage table more
But
than once.
there's a great app
Yeah.
if you sleep alone, and it's called the Snore Doctor. So you can download
Okay.
it for free, and you can record yourself at night, and you'll know when you're snoring. Yeah, how bad you're
And,
snoring.
and so, wait a minute. So, if I snore, then that is a health indicator for dementia. Say that
Mhm.
again.
Dementia,
Man.
yeah, and
Okay.
Alzheimer's, because
All right.
your mouth breathing, oxygen is not going to your brain,
Right.
and it
Right.
affects your sleep quality as well. So you'll have better quality sleep if you're not snoring. And then we need to go, right, why are you snoring? Like,
Yeah.
is there like a histamine thing going on?
Right.
There's an allergy, seasonal allergies and things like, or,
Mm,
food intolerance as well that can cause histamine buildup. Because what happens in you might know this, Karen, that, the estrogen, the drop in estrogen,
mm.
our ligaments become a bit slack,
Yeah.
all over our bodies, but the tongue also. And so the tongue starts slipping back into the throat at night while
Mm,
you're sleeping. And that's
mm.
where the snoring can come. And then there's obviously the histamine thing. But, we can use like a mouth tape to take your mouth together. It might not be that attractive, but, you know, your sleep quality will be better. And, you also future proofing your brain health too.
And that sounds mouth tape. I read about last year when I read a book called Breath by somebody whose first name begins with James. I've mentioned him on this podcast before. And I've seen athletes taping their mouths. I've seen and people selling tape,
Yeah.
particular mouth tape, which is, and I've been trying, training for my first 10K in 5 weeks. Oh my God. And I've been trying to breathe through which is really hard when you're running, to breathe through my nose and out through my mouth, and also do the same thing when I'm swimming. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but as far as I'm concerned, if I'm being conscious about it, then that will be help. So you're saying that that is all about getting oxygen to your brain and helping you future-proof yourself.
Yeah.
Well, well,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Never not teaching me something, Pamela. What's the hill you will die on when it comes to menopause? What should we all be doing?
Sleeping. That is sure, and not snoring. What should we all be doing? Well, let's start with sleeping, because sleeping is really important, and
Yeah,
I think that women are really complacent when it comes to sleeping,
yeah. We're just
and
relieved to get into bed.
I know. But then what are women doing in bed? Are
Mm.
they scrolling on social media? And what time are you getting out of bed?
Mm,
So sleep is super important, and one of the things that when we sleep between the hours, I think it's between 11 and 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, your
yeah,
brain starts to detoxify it, so it's getting rid of toxins, and
right.
so we really need to be asleep early. It's I call it a healthy sacrifice. For me,
Yeah.
it's like it's a no-brainer. I want to future-proof my brain health.
Mm.
Um, so sleep is really important. Sleep hygiene, all those things. You're smiling, Karen.
I'm smiling because uh, recently I swapped phones. My old phone, I bought a refurbished phone, and my old phone, I had it set up so that it turned itself off at 10 o'clock. Which is it might not sound early to you, but it's well early for me. But I linked it to my laptop and my iPad, so I couldn't access any technology. And
Wow.
basically, I go, "Oh, it's bedtime." Like literally, there's nothing to do. Obviously, there's loads to do. I could sew, whatever, but it meant that I was more. And it was actually my daughter Kareem who told me to do it. But I haven't set it up on my new phone, and I've only had my new phone for about a few days, and I've noticed a difference in my sleep quality. I've
Uh,
noticed I'm going to bed later. I've noticed that because everything, so I'm smiling because in a sense, you've reminded me to do that, and I've just confessed. But there you go.
great, great. Great. So yeah, so sleep and blue light at night time,
Mm,
I mean, ideally an hour before bed would
mm,
be to get off those devices, even your television, and
yeah.
also your lights in your home as well, have a really dim light in your bedroom. I don't even put the bathroom light on because
Do you
they are
not?
no,
Do you
no,
not bump into things?
no. The bedroom light's on, dim, and I don't the hallway is light lit from the
Yeah,
bedroom.
yeah.
And I don't put the light on in the bathroom because the bathroom lights are bright,
They're
aren't they?
really harsh. Yeah,
They're so
true.
bright. What's
Yeah.
that doing? It's waking you up. It's
Mm,
closing down your sleep neurotransmitter.
gosh,
Yeah, I know.
gosh.
I know. So yeah, so women need to be sleeping. Definitely, they also, with sleep, you need dark and light. So in the morning, we all need light in our eyes. And thank goodness the days are getting lighter because it's like
Yes.
7 in the mornings. So get up early, open the curtains, go outside,
Yeah.
drink your cup of tea outside, expose your eyes to natural light. Your sleep quality will thank you for that.
Mm,
So we need that. We obviously need to move, but we need to move smart. What's right for you not isn't right for somebody else. We need to do some single leg work. So we need to stand on one leg. What
upper
that
balance. Yeah.
for balance. Also, for your pelvic floor health, pelvic floor is activated when you stand on one leg as well.
Mm,
So you're doing that at the
mhm.
same time. We need to build muscle. We need to maintain muscle. This is so important for your immune system. That's crazy, isn't it? For
Yeah.
your immune system, we
Yeah.
need muscle. And unfortunately, Mother Nature means that when we get to menopause, the muscle changes. The
Yeah.
muscles become flat than it did when we were younger. And in your mid 30s, by the time you get to 80, you've got
Mm,
half the muscle that you had
yeah.
from your mid
Yeah.
30s. And that's crazy. That's your immune system that's being impacted by that. For us as Black women, I don't know if you know this, that we have more fast twitch fiber.
Cool.
So
Say it again.
fast twitch fiber.
Fast twitch fiber. Hit
So
me with it.
okay, so in our muscles we have two fibers. We have slow
Mm,
twitch and we have fast twitch. And so I always describe them as a chicken. So the chicken breast, which is
yeah. Yeah.
flatter, is slow twitch,
Yeah.
and the chicken legs, which is curvier
Okay.
and faster, is
Okay.
fast. So as Black women, our
Mm,
bodies, look at our bodies.
mm.
We are more curvier. Look at our glutes, our bum.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, it's
true.
high up. Or it was, I should say.
I was going to say mine was. It's
Yeah,
gone walkabout.
yeah. So it's high up. We're definitely more curvier. And you look at the 100 meters lineup of the Olympics, or 200,
Mm,
full of Black people. Yeah, male or
mm,
female.
mm,
And that is
mm.
because we have more fast twitch fibers, so we're more explosive.
Yeah.
So what happens in the menopause, we lose fast twitch fibers. Everybody does. White women do, Black women
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
obviously we're starting off with more.
Mm, mm.
So when we do weight training, resistance training, we then increase our fast twitch fibers. So as women age, they become a bit more, get slower,
Yeah.
not as dynamic. And so when we
Mm,
do actually do weight training to failure,
mm.
yeah, so if you're
Yeah.
in the gym and you're actually lifting weights or at home,
So it's hard, basically.
yeah, so by the time you get to 12, it should be hard. It should be like
Yes,
really
that's
hard.
right.
And it's
And you're
that,
grunting. That's
yeah,
when the grunting happens.
yeah. And that is that you're building your fast twitch muscle. So you want to run for a bus. Sorry, if you want to run for a bus, you'll run
Mm,
for the bus. You want to run
right.
after your grandchildren, you will run after your grandchildren. You want to carry load upstairs and not be out
Yeah.
of breath, you will do that.
Right. Okay. Good. And this, as you know, I did I put something on Instagram recently about how I thought I was doing my weights wrong. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was out of breath all the time. Turns out I was doing it right, but I didn't know enough about weight training. And so Michelle Griffiths Robinson, Olympian and PT, very kindly stepped in, and we did a little live together where she put me through my basics, which was amazing. Um, so this is and also I was only doing it twice a week. And before that, I was doing it once every 3 weeks. I don't mind admitting, because I know lots of people don't do weights. And so
Mm,
I realized that that is going up in my game with my weight training, is definitely going to be something that helps me for my menopause.
yeah,
So I'm glad that you explained that, because that's given me more ammunition in a sense, and more incentive to want to keep it going, because
yeah.
it's hard work, man.
Yeah, but it could be literally 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a
Yes.
full half hour. It could be 10, 15 minutes and you're done. You're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, I have to also say we also need cardiovascular health as well.
Yeah.
So we need to do cardiovascular exercises.
Mm.
But the newest thing is about doing like short burst things, not
Okay.
not like 20 minutes of running
Yeah.
or an hour of running. It could be short bursts, and that's actually more effective for us. So for
Okay.
myself, when I first got my watch, my Garmin watch, which was last year, um, I was walking. I lived in a flat, so I didn't really walk upstairs that very much.
Mm.
But I was walking, like a couple of miles a day. I love walking.
Mm.
And when I put my watch on, it measured my um, oh my God, VMO. VMO
Okay.
is it's a measure of your cardiac output. So it's
Okay.
like how healthy is your heart under stress
Mhm.
by
Mhm.
walking or running or something, walking uphill. And mine came back as poor. And it
Oh,
came back,
wow.
yeah, it came back as poor. And I was equivalent to somebody at age 68. Yeah, it was
Pamela!
a shock. It was
And
a shock.
was that because you weren't stressing your heart, if that makes sense, enough?
I wasn't stressing my heart, and my muscle mass and muscle density also
Yeah.
influences that too.
Right.
And so what I've then added in, I do a minute and a half every day of
Mm.
running up the stairs and down the stairs.
Oh.
Just a minute and a half
Yeah.
cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah.
And I have now gone from poor, so it was 30. So the score was actually, yeah, it was 30, and I've now
Mm.
got to 29, and my age is, I think it was 60 last time I checked it.
Nice. So it's going down.
Going down,
That's
yeah,
good to know. That's good to know. I'll
yeah,
look into more of that. Wow. There's so much advice out there. There's so much information. It's very noisy in the menopause space. Menopause is big business. What advice would you give to someone who's coming new to this, isn't necessarily perimenopausal, or might not know what's going on, and is overwhelmed already by what they're being told? What advice would you give to them?
yeah. It is overwhelming, and there's so much information out there. So much information. Yeah, we are like struggling from a health perspective. So
Yeah.
it's not knowledge is power at
Yeah.
all at the moment. Like too much knowledge is disempowering. Um,
Mm.
what would I say? I would say the thing is about knowing yourself, and I think that because we're talking about the menopause and there's so much information about the signs and the symptoms of it, I do feel like
Mm.
younger women are becoming really scared that they're
Yeah.
entering menopause early. And what I always do when women come in um, to see me that are young, late 30s, early 40s, I always say this might not be menopause. It might not be.
Yeah.
It could be
Mm.
something else. It could
Yeah.
be, like a thyroid issue, because that's connected to your ovaries. It could
Mm.
be a blood sugar issue. It could be
Mm.
chronic stress from things that you've gone through at this point in your
Yeah.
life. Yeah, so there are other things that can mimic menopause. So that's what I would say first is don't think this is it. It could be
Yeah,
something, but exploring other things I think is really important. And I think that, a younger woman that I worked with last year, early 40s, whose menstrual cycle had gone to 80 days. And at that point, when she contacted me, she'd just been to a GP, and a GP really wasn't concerned that at 42, that a
mm.
menstrual cycle had gone this long, and just offered her HRT without any further investigation. I was livid.
I
Um,
bet you were. I can see your face now.
I was so angry. Because, well, why?
Yeah.
What caused this young woman? Yes,
Mm,
perimenopause can start at 42, but to have
mm.
your cycle go like that, I'm like, we need to do more tests here. And we did.
Yeah.
And we got a cycle back to 30 days,
Oh, yeah.
Is it
Brilliant.
perimenopausal?
Yeah.
So first of all, know yourself, making sure that you are tracking your cycle. This is a must.
I
And
hear this over and over again about tracking your cycle.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need to track your cycle. You need to not not in a way that I see women doing it just on an app and not really paying attention to it.
Right. Okay.
And paper. Go back to the old-fashioned thing. What I did in my so a late perimenopausal, when I knew that my first missed cycle happened, I knew I wasn't
Yeah.
pregnant because I was tracking my body. I was
Mm,
doing my basal body temperature. Your basal body temperature is your true temperature upon waking, and that
mm,
tells you about your menstrual cycle. It tells you when you're ovulating. It
mm,
tells you when your period is gonna come, because your
mm.
body temperature changes, your
Yeah.
true temperature in the morning. Things that will alter that is if you've been drinking alcohol, that will just skew
Yeah.
the results. If you have a virus, if you wake up in the middle of the night, that will skew the results. But generally, if you're sleeping all the way through and you're taking your body temperature throughout the month, then you will
Mm,
know when you're ovulating. So if you don't get a spike in your body temperature,
mm.
you're not ovulating. That is
Yeah.
something you need to look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the numbers are just all over the place, there's no actual pattern, whether it's low at the big too low, so we want it's Fahrenheit, so we want to be around between 60 to 65 from day one of your period to ovulation. After
Mm.
ovulation, the numbers rise.
Yeah.
Um, Progesterone means that the numbers are higher, around about 65, nearly maybe even 69 throughout that latter end of your cycle,
And
and then
is
it
that literally putting a thermometer in your mouth? How do you take your basal temperature?
yeah,
Is that
putting a
oh, it is? Oh,
mm,
okay. All
yeah,
right.
get A4 piece of paper, like
Yeah.
number 1 down to 30,
Yeah.
however long your cycle is, body
Yeah.
temperature, day 1, day 2, and
Wow.
it's just so fascinating how
Mm.
much information you learn about yourself, and it also tells you about your thyroid health as well, so there's that also as well to look
So
at.
it always, always will always come down to, and I think we've been saying this from the beginning, is to know yourself. All the things that you've talked about have been finding out about yourself, going deeper. Yes, apps are great, don't get me wrong, but in terms of paying attention and being present, those are the things that will help you to start to think about, oh, something's not quite right here. This isn't my norm. Let's see what I'm doing. And also, doctors, yes, doctor care is changing, but it is incremental, it is slow. It depends on, who you are, who's in front of you. And so be
Yeah,
aware and empowered that if you go to a doctor and it doesn't feel right, go to another doctor. Yes, it's long. Yes, it's annoying. But it's absolutely worth it because there's only one you, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
And
that client I mentioned earlier, she took
mm,
me to a doctor. Look, this is what's happening with my basal body temperature. The doctor took us seriously at that point because it was
yes,
all over
because
the
he
place. It
knew
was
she knew. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You do so much for others, Pamela. How do you celebrate yourself?
yeah. I remember you asking me this last time.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's really celebrating yourself is like, when you do pour out to others
Yeah.
and, you know, yeah, it's a big thing, isn't it? And I celebrate for others and holding space for others, celebrating myself. It's as an entrepreneur and also, this passion that I want to empower women across the world.
Mm, mm.
Sometimes, it's just like, oh, this great thing happened, and you have a moment of celebration, but then it's gone. And
And then you're
just
on to the next thing. Yeah.
yeah, you're on to the next thing. And at the beginning, when you read out all of my qualifications, all the things that I've done, that hearing that was just like, wow, that's me, little old
Yeah.
me, got
Are you nuts?
yeah, that got ungraded at school, and like if my parents were here, like how proud they'd be, and
Hmm.
yeah. So how do I celebrate myself, Karen? I think what I think right now is that I need to do this more. And I think, you know, celebrating my 59th year, because the thing is, what I want to do is do things throughout the year for
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be. So, what's your space? What,
Yes, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to hear more about that as well. Oh,
yeah,
Pamela, what's one thing you want menopausal women, people who are experiencing menopause, to take away from this conversation, whether they're black, whether they're from whatever demographic? Um, yeah, what do you want them to take away? I think I know the answer, but you might come up with something else.
ooh, I'm intrigued to find out what you think it is. I think, I've talked about a lot of things, haven't I? And I
Mm,
think I've talked about the diagnostic tests, I've talked about blood sugar monitors, I've talked about the watches, I've talked about, visiting your doctor, and I didn't mention this, but about asking for specific tests
yeah,
um, around your health. And, and I feel that, it might sound very privileged to do those diagnostic tests. And for me, the risk of not doing those tests were greater for the risk of doing it. So the
yeah.
risk of parting with money that I didn't have at that
Mm,
time,
mm,
the risk of not doing it was much greater. And I think that what I hope for women that are listening to this is
mm.
really think about what the risk is in not doing something.
Oh,
Like
that's
really
good.
think about it. Because, I mean, we've talked about future-proofing our brain health, future-proofing our immune health. The world is moving into longevity. This is the thing. The world is moving into longevity, and there are so many things that are basic that
Yeah.
don't cost any money, like getting to sleep, like taping your mouth,
Mm.
um,
Like
checking.
getting daylight in your eyes. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
so many things that are free.
Yeah.
And I feel like the industry is that those things aren't worthwhile. The supplements is worthwhile
Mm.
more than
Mm.
these basic things like chewing your
Mm.
food, drinking
Mm.
water that's got salt
Water.
in it, with electrolytes in it. All these things that don't cost anything, they are
Yeah.
so powerful. And when we do them regularly, they
Mm.
work. They're super powerful. So I think that's my message. The
Yeah.
thing I want to leave everybody in is have a look at the risk. There are risks in everything, but
Yeah.
really look at the risk in not doing the thing that you need or want.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You're an absolute gem, Pamela. I'm so glad I know you. And I'm so thrilled that we were able to kind of catch up and talk about all the things that we're passionate about, to share with others. Yeah. I expect much more from you, babe.
Thank you.
Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, which they will? Where can they find you? What's the best way?
Well, I hang out on Instagram. So that's
You
where
and
I
me
am
both, babe.
every day. So you can contact me there.
Mm,
You can I'm obviously if you're on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, but yeah.
yeah.
I am on LinkedIn as well.
Mm,
And my website, my website is full of resources, blogs. I can't remember, it's over 100 blogs. I've been blogging
Yeah.
since about the menopause
Yeah.
since 2016, and the things on there that people are just talking about today. So there's lots of things on there: gut health, liver health, bone health,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. If you come into my newsletter, I email you once a
Yeah.
week or twice a week or 3 times a week, depends on what's going on. The various ways that you can come and work with me in one of my communities or work with me one-to-one. I'm doing retreat this year as well, which I'm excited about. Yes, I'm so excited. A really small, intimate retreat up here in Nottinghamshire. So yeah, there's many ways that you can come into my
And
community.
I'll put all of those. I'll
Thank
put all
you.
of those in the show notes. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you and to catch up with you again, Pamela. Enjoy as you move into your 59th year leading up to 60. And I'm very excited to see what you get up to. Oh, that was so much fun and so informative. I think that it was a good decision. I'm glad that Pamela said yes to returning to the podcast, because 5 years ago, literally around this time, we started our conversation. I decided to start the podcast. It felt like there was a demand. There was nothing on the, no one was talking about Black women in menopause, and no one was really diversifying that space. Um, yeah, it was very pale. And so I got myself a little microphone, and with the encouragement of some very good friends, I started to send emails to people, and I sent emails to 10 Black women, and Pamela was one of them, and she said yes straight away. So it was great to be able to catch up with her. That woman has so much knowledge. I'm never not learning from her. If you ever follow her on Instagram, Pamela Windle, women's health coach, she is always dropping gems and sharing her truth and talking about what she's learned. And I really, really appreciate our friendship and appreciate our conversation. Was there any part that you didn't know? Was there anything that pulled you up? You might have noticed, but mine was about the snoring and the links with possible links with early dementia. I had no idea, and I'm pretty sure that I snore like. Yeah, I've snored. I've woken myself up snoring during meditation. I don't know about you, but I'm better at meditating. I find it easier to meditate lying down. It's a whole thing. It's a whole performance. And yeah, I've done that. I've fallen asleep, as I said on the podcast, on the massage table. It's the thing. But I'm going to use this app, the snoring app, the sleep app. And I will put all the information to where you can find Pamela. You can contact her via her website. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. Because if you want to work with her, I promise you that you will not be disappointed at all. If you love this episode, if you love this podcast, then do subscribe, like, share, talk about us in your WhatsApp groups, amongst your friends. Your menopause care, your optimum menopause care, if you're not there yet, it is around the corner. Listen to the previous episodes and ensure that, and remind yourself that you are one person and you are unique, but there is help for you out there. If this is the first episode you're coming across, there are over 70 episodes you have to catch up on. Don't have to, but they're really good. And also, if you're at the beginning of your menopause journey, if you're realizing that you're moving into perimenopause, just remember, as I said, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are all unique. One size does not fit all. And one thing may work for one person, but not necessarily for you. So be patient, see a health professional, and stay in touch with your body, which sounds a bit woo-woo, but what I mean by that is understand what your triggers are, understand which foods make you tired or which foods energize you. And the same goes for people as well, who drains you and whom leaves you feeling amazing, though that's also important to pay attention to. What else do I need to say? The doors to the Joy Retreat Barbados for this year are closed, but if you are interested in joining us in 2026, yes, you heard right, 2026, that's next year, drop me an email at hello@menopausewhilstblack.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram at menopausewhilstblack. Not .com. There's no .com on Instagram. At Menopause Whilst Black, and I will add you to our mailing list. Or you can visit the website, menopausewhilstblack.com, and the mailing list pop-up box thing will pop up and you can fill that in as well. I hope you're looking after yourself. I hope that it is sunny where you are. It's certainly sunny here in East Sussex. I'm looking forward to it getting a little hotter as well. But for now, I'm really, really enjoying the longer days, the lighter mornings and evenings. And I hope you are too. So it remains for me to say don't forget to wear your SPF, drink your water, drink some, do it now. Unless you're running and you don't have any, in which case, drink some later. And I'll speak to you soon. Take good care. Be gentle with yourself, won't you? Okay, bye.